Hey guys, it's me, Canden. I got a chance to speak with Joseph Day for the Celibacy and Modern Christian Man interview series, and this is the live feed of what he had to say.
Hi.
Hey, what's up, Canden?
Hey. So once again, thanks for being a part of this. Um, yeah, it's really great. I just wanted to kind of just get a little bit more insight into who you were and kind of your perspective on a couple different things in reference to the questions you've already answered. So I saw that, you mentioned that you have been celibate for the last 7 years, which is great. Congratulations on that, because that's not really easy. Um, have you? My first question is: have you ever been heavily tempted to fail? Was there an instance where you were heavily tempted to fail, and how did you deal with it?
Um, I wouldn't surprisingly, maybe over the past 5 to 7 years, there's only one like uh circumstance where I really came close to just letting everything loose. But then I kind of just thought about how I would feel afterwards, and I just took some time to just breathe and just really just think about what I'm about to do, and I just kind of envisioned myself how I'd be afterwards and how I would feel, and the regret I would feel. So I said, you know what, it's not worth it. So it took about 20 to 30 minutes of pacing just to really get my mind right, but you know,
That's real.
yeah, it was worth it.
Okay, cool. Um, how do you think that you maintain, what's been most effective for you in maintaining discipline? Do you have someone that holds you accountable? In what ways kind of help you to walk that whole celibacy journey out?
Um, well, yeah, you mentioned accountability. I feel like at the beginning, when I was fresh in the walk with Christ, and just really embracing this new journey, I had a ton of accountability and encouragement and support, and I just feel like throughout the years, it's that lifestyle just kind of became natural. It was just embedded in me, and I definitely didn't. I made sure I didn't surround myself around women that you know were trying to tempt me to do those things or rip my clothes off or something like that. So I kind of just always
Mhm.
kept a healthy distance and kept a boundary as well. Um, and then it kind of just again it just became if this makes any sense, like very second nature. Very self-controlling. I developed that. Um, so it wasn't a need anymore. You know what I mean? Because I understood through you know through pastors and teaching and the Word of God that you know this is something very special and sacred, and this is not something that you live your life thinking that this is something you need. A lot of men, I've talked to a lot of men, they think like, okay, I need this in order to function.
Mhm.
Um, so once I understood that revelation and the true beauty and meaning behind the beauty of sex and how sacred it is and how powerful it is, and there's consequences for moving outside of God's boundaries. It just kind of put everything into perspective, and you know also understanding that I'm a new creature and have a new nature. Things just kind of just became natural.
Got you. That's dope. That's dope. Okay, so I'm gonna just be, kind of blunt with you because that's kind of how I am.
Yeah.
So you're an attractive guy, just from a woman's perspective.
Thank
So
you.
how do you? You're welcome. How do you feel like you're able to keep how women are attracted to you, or how they show that they're attracted to you? Because I've met men who it's just like a thing where they want to be really desired. Women too. but for men it like attacks their pride if they're really not. So like I think for women it attacks their value, but for men it's like a pride type of thing. Like, dang, like how can I get her in whatever compromising position? And I know you said, through accountability and kind of like the word of God and just keeping a healthy distance. But like, how do you have a routine or ritual for mentally removing like, that urge to want women to desire you, even outside of just the sex, like in a lustful way? Or are you still kind of working on that?
Well, from what I experienced, like a lot of the women that try to talk to me, they kind of just they know what I'm about, and in most cases, I'd say maybe like 85-90% of the time, they respect the journey that I'm on.
Come through, ladies. Come
yeah.
through.
Yeah, so like a lot of women appreciate that, and of course it's something rare in this generation, and I feel like there is one instance though. I had a very close friend of mine. He's on the same journey, and he believes that his girlfriend kind of just switched into another direction for that very reason. But I feel like women aren't gonna like be vulnerable and tell the truth. They're just kind of maybe feel ashamed or whatever of saying like, hey, like I want to have sex, but you're not trying to, so I don't want to do this anymore. But I've never really experienced that. In most cases, girls respect that, and there's a lot of great young ladies out there that I've met that respect that. But like I said, there's probably a few instances where it was just like, all right, like, let's go. But I'm just like, no, not really. But yeah, and also to mention social media, like through the stuff you post, like to a certain extent, your character is revealed, and a lot of women, like, have told me, like, hey, I can just tell you're different, like, you're not like the rest of these guys, and I know that you're respectful, and I respect that. So it makes it a lot easier if just rising up to that expectation. It kind of eliminates a lot of temptation, honestly.
Yeah. Like presenting yourself exactly, how you want to maintain your values. That's cool. Okay, cool. That's what's up. Why do you think men are less likely to share their stories about celibacy? Because, I know women are usually a little bit more vocal about it than men are. And I'm wondering in this whole process of doing these interviews, why men are kind of like, when I wrote the blog, women would comment on the blog, but but men would DM me, and and they would be like, they weren't like, it wasn't DMing in like I'm trying to kind of get at you type of way. It was DMing like, oh, thanks for that. And I mean, I don't know if they were trying to, but it didn't seem like they were like, it just seemed like they were like, oh, okay, I can relate, and they chose to do it that way. So yeah, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, it's definitely quote unquote different because society growing up, even a lot of fathers, encourage their young boys and men to go out there and have a sex life. You get praised for that. So it's like, growing up in school, if you're not, sleeping around with a lot of women, you're, considered like not cool, or you don't have game. It kind of goes against a man's pride a little bit. So, when you tell people, you tell a group of men or your boys that you're still virgin, it's for some reason there's that shame there because society has created an expectation of how men should live sexually, and so it's kind of hard for a lot of men in the body of Christ to share that. Fortunately enough, I absolutely don't feel any shame about it. I was never that way. again, to me, it's all about perspective. And I've told a lot of men and young men and boys, and a lot of them, give that weird face, like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? And we go in and talk about it, and just kind of just try to give people, perspective, a different outlook than what they've been brought up to believe. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're supposed to do these different things. Like a guy gets dapped up for for sleeping with a woman, but on the other side, a woman gets shamed for it. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that story in the Bible where that woman was caught in the act of adultery, and like no one. I always think to myself, I'm like, well, what about the man that she was sleeping with when she was caught in adultery? Like, was that like could that have been
right?
could
Like,
that,
where he at though?
Yeah, where is he at? And then, you know what? And I say to myself, he was probably a Pharisee. Like, who knows?
That's wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so people don't really think about those things, and that's why I feel like it's so hard for men to come out and talk about that, because they're you're supposed to be praised for sleeping with a lot of women.
That's good. Along those same lines, and you did kind of hint at it, but along those same lines, what do you think we could do to better support the next generation in kind of presenting, celibacy in a positive light? Because it is set up like that. How do you feel that we can more, effectively impact them in this way?
I feel like it's on the women in this one, and I'll say why. And this is why, because if more women are vocal about men being celibate and being respectful and honoring their sexual values and things of that nature, I feel like a lot of men will feel comfortable and confident to live that way. Like, okay, wow, like this is what a lot of women really want. Like, this is what attracts women.
Oh my gosh, that is so progressive. I have never heard anything. I have never heard such things. So wait, hold on. So you think that if the women were more encouraging of like men who wanted to be celibate or like, or like oh my gosh, that the men would actually do it?
I think so. Like, just think about it. Like, just kind of visualize a lot of women. I'm not saying like, okay, it's like on the women, like the pressure's there. I'm like, no, it's not like that. It's just like if women were more expressive, like you know what I mean about that. Like, just imagine you see like a someone with a big platform that has influence, and she's a woman, and she's beautiful, she's attractive, she's upright, and then she's vocal about that. Like, imagine a Cardi B, for instance, because she's like a global star right now, were to come out and say those things. You know what I mean? It would. I feel like it wouldn't only be empowering to women to honor and respect themselves, but it would really speak to the men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that would be extremely powerful, like, you know what I mean, and just very encouraging, just, hearing that from a woman, like,
yeah.
I feel like there's not really much, men can do. I feel like the women would have more empowerment in that sense. I'm not saying men can't make a difference, but I feel like the women would have more of a you know what I mean?
That is so interesting. Oh my gosh. That's really interesting. Because here I am thinking that women are like super vocal, but I hear what you're saying, because I have yet to hear a woman be like, oh my gosh, girl, do you know that he is celibate and he's a virgin, and that's like positive. But I think it's the way that the world frames. I think that it's the way that the world in general frames it, and I also think that women are taught to have low expectations in that area. Like, we're just taught to be like, yeah, of course he's not. And do we even want him to be? Like, now it's like a negative thing.
Yeah.
But that's really
feeling.
I know that's very transform. I mean, we sorry. We don't know how to act sometimes. But the Lord is helping us out. But that's incredibly transformative. I'm so glad that you answered that way, because that opens up a whole another world of like evolutionary world for me. Okay, cool. That's dope. That's really, I didn't know like our affirmation meant that much to y'all, but praise God.
Absolutely.
We're gonna try that. We're gonna try that out. Okay, we're gonna try that. Listen. This is we can create a movement here.
Let's good.
I'm gonna have to tell that to everybody. That's really good. Okay, dope. The final question is: I know that a lot of people out there, Christians that are not in relationships, they're single, and so I'm thinking like, okay. We kind of know that when you're in a relationship, it's a little bit harder to maintain your celibacy because, you're actively very, close to that person. Do you feel like, or even in your own personal experience, do you think that it's easier for Christians to be single and not to date? Because I'm wondering, like, why there's this, big, like, I'm always alone type thing within the Christian world. And I don't know that we have very good male-female interpersonal relationships. So do you feel like it's much easier, like would you prefer as a person who is practicing celibacy to just be like, hey, I'm going to stay in a safe space and not be in a relationship unless I absolutely have to be because I want to maintain this?
Well, this is like a tough question because like, I mean, obviously there's levels to getting to marriage, and I feel like honestly, I'm speaking of myself too. There's a lot of Christians out there that are in fear. They fear of moving into that next stage with a significant other, and not focusing too much on trying to maintain celibacy and not like fall versus just enjoying the journey that God's brought you into. I feel like it just. I think I answered this question like this. It just depends on, on your growth level, really, because it's. I feel like if you try to put like like rules and believe it or not, I mean, I know Christians do that. They put rules on the relationships. Like that's just a setup for a fall. You know what I mean? Because like Paul talks about that. Like the law is.
So those are hard to meet.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I feel like just like obviously, have boundaries, know yourself, but don't be afraid to walk into that. You know what I mean? Like just be confident. This person that you are walking into in the newness of life with is not going to set you up for failure. And I feel like there has to be like a, I don't know, I don't want to call it like a gray area or middle ground, but just like a balance. That's the word I'm looking for. It has to be a balance as far as like physical touch, because like it's. I feel like it's just like nonsense thinking to be in a relationship with someone. There is some sort of physical contact that's healthy for both of them, versus like making rules like, okay, we can't touch each other, we can't hug, we can't kiss, or after a certain time we can't hang out. That's just like. That's rules. It's not a relationship, So I'm yet still, I have a ton of questions and thoughts on that. And I've also heard of experiences, and even read of experiences where, like, these rules that these couples thought they were going to help them actually destroyed their relationship. So yeah, to conclude, answering your question, I do believe there's a balance. The balance doesn't always look the same in each relationship because everyone's different on different, growth levels and maturity. But I do believe there's a balance to everyone out there,
Yeah. No, that's legit. Okay, cool. That's really, really good. I definitely appreciate your insight and your time. And yeah, that concludes the interview. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Canden.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, listeners. Thank you for tuning in again to the Celibacy and Modern Christian Man interview series with Joseph Day. I hope you enjoyed listening. Be sure to share with someone to encourage them, Also, remember to like and subscribe to the blog and the channel, and follow Modern Christian Man on IG. For more videos from our MCMs, check out the links below. This is Canden signing off.